Hi, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of As the Walker Turns. And I am very honored to be speaking today to Britt Frank. And Britt, I met at a conference recently at Leading Age Colorado, and she was one of the keynote speakers and blew me away with her message and her new book that just released, which is called Britt, Help Me. It's Align Your Mind, right? Okay, great. And so it really resonated with me because one of my own personal journey with my mom, and also for all of those that are blessed with that inner voice, not everyone is. That was also news to me. How do you manage your inner voice? And I think you have a very refreshing take on it because I can tell you personally, everything I've tried so far hasn't worked. And this one, I think we may have some possibilities here. So I'm really excited to talk to you about it and how we can incorporate that into senior living. So welcome, Britt.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see you again and to be here with you.
Thank you. And Britt, I know you have a lot of initials after your name and fancy titles. So do you want to just let everyone know what those are?
The alphabet soup
Yes,
situation. So,
yes.
I'm a licensed neuropsychotherapist, which is just a very long word to say I'm trained in the brain and the nervous system. And I've been in private practice for about 12 years. I've clocked more than 10,000 hours as a therapist. I'm also a trauma expert and the author of the book, The Science of Stuck, plus the new one, as you mentioned, Align Your Mind. So, yeah, all the voices in your head stuff, I also have them. I know some people don't. Those aren't my people. But if you do, welcome.
I want to be one of those people. It is what it is. So,
Exactly.
okay, Britt. So let's talk a little bit about those inner voices, or some people call it an inner critic, or I think you may use the word controller. I think. Okay. Talk to me about your take on that and how you use parts work to try and, these are my words from reading the book, like validate and not try and quiet those voices or maybe shame those voices into silence. So why is your take so different and powerful?
Well, if you look at the language that is in the wellness world and on social media, you'll see, banish your inner critic, tell your anxiety it's a liar, tell that fear to take a hike. And the common guidance, even in the mental health world, is to fight with it or to shame it or to yell at it. But here is the problem. If you are yelling at yourself, you're not going to win, even if you win. If you are fighting with yourself, that is a lose lose situation. And so the solution that I offer up in the book and in my body of work is not a model I came up with. It's called parts work. And it's based on this idea that your mind has all these different characters running around inside it. It's sort of like the movie Inside Out, that Pixar movie.
Right, right.
Imagine you've got all these little characters. Some of them are critical, some of them are people pleasers, some of them love your family, some of them not so much. Some of them resent your family. Some are sad. And especially when we're talking about aging and death and big life shifts that go along with senior living, it's kind of complicated to manage your mind if you don't know. It's not just one thing. That's the reason you can feel nine different ways before breakfast. And it's not because you're crazy and it's not because you're a hypocrite. It's because our mind is complex, just like our bodies. Think of your mind like it's made of parts. And that sounds a little bit woo woo, but it's in our language, right? Part of me knows that this is just what it is and I need to accept it. And there's this other part of me that's really angry about it and I don't want to accept it. Parts work makes room for all of that at the table.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So let's and thank you for that. That's I and just for everyone to know, I have been trying some of these methods, and it's been very interesting, the reaction. So if you have a moment of anxiety or a moment of doubt or self-criticism, and you're just like, okay, instead of saying, be quiet or go away, to just validate whatever that is, has been very interesting in terms of like de-escalating, or I think you call it like mind meld. It's like very quick. Like for me, I can like pop out of it a lot faster. So thank you for that. It's a very much a work in progress, but as that relates to senior living, which is very emotional, high stress time in people's life, it's a big change, right? It's not only a change for the resident themselves, it's a big change for the family members. It literally affects everyone, and sometimes caught in the crossfire of the staff, right? Like dealing with everything that's happened for the previous 85 years is walking into the building, and you're just like, okay, what are what do we have? what's happening here. So let's talk about it from like the family perspective. If you are really struggling with guilt or maybe, I guess probably grief, I guess would be a good word to describe what's going on. How can you use parts work to help navigate through this big change in life?
And let's validate too. And again, validating doesn't mean agreeing. So when I say to validate, it doesn't mean, well, my inner voices tell me I stink, therefore it's true and I stink. Validating just means recognizing that it makes sense that you're feeling away. And when it comes to families that are navigating this change, it makes sense that you're feeling anger and guilt and grief and sadness and all of the things. And I have people come into me who seek therapy because they feel like there's something wrong with having this entire cornucopia, this giant box of all of the feelings. And so the sentence that I would encourage anyone listening to start with, no matter what you're feeling, this is your little Mad Libs exercise. It makes sense that I'm feeling this because this. It makes sense that I'm feeling anger because life's hard. It makes sense that I'm feeling guilt because I'm a good person and I don't like not being able to do everything and all of the things for all of the people. And the reason that parts work is so powerful for family members navigating these changes is because you have to make really tough decisions as a family member. But the part of the brain that you need to make good decisions is not available. When the other parts of your brain that are emotional and reactive and overwhelmed, those parts, when they're lighting up, sort of cancel out the logic. So doing this work and starting with validating is a way to not only be nice to yourself, but to actually slow down all those stress hormones that make it difficult to make decisions at all. And if you're a family member who's navigating the family side and the staff side and the decision side, first we have to start with it makes sense that you're feeling this way. It does. It makes sense. Then we want to shift down into no matter what voice is going on inside your head, we want to look for resources. Oftentimes, it can feel like we're at odds with ourselves, with other family members, with staff, with caregivers. And we want to start with we're all on the same team here. We all have the same goal. It's very rare I've seen in my practice that someone's a true sociopathic jerk who's out to make your life miserable, although it can seem like that sometimes. But let's start with self-validation, number one. And then number two, if you're stuck or feeling like you can't make the decision, who are your people that might be able to help you become even more unmind melded so you can hear yourself think?
Wow. So let's just say that you're in a moment of maybe some people call it a panic attack or an anxiety attack or stuck and you just like you don't even know what to do other, can't get out of bed or whatever. You're just so paralyzed by the choices ahead of you. What are some tools? I know you love a good acronym. So are there any like as I'm reading the book, I'm like, oh, that's
Uh-huh.
great. What are some quick tools that you might want to have people try to see if they can at least get themselves to a point that they can regulate, and then be able to make those critical decisions?
Oh, you do know I love a good acronym, and I will
Yeah.
give you one of my acronyms. But first, when you're in bed and you're in that sort of analysis overwhelm, stuckness where you can't even, there's 10,000 things to do, but you don't even know what to do or where to start, that's not a great time to try to do parts work. So if you're beating yourself up because you've been in bed for 3 hours and you're like, why isn't my parts work working? Let's put all the inner voice stuff to the side, and I'll give you a tool called a micro yes. A micro yes is not about analysis or motivation or insight. It just means what is the smallest possible win you can get under your belt. If you're laying in bed, your biggest win might be that you move from the bed to the couch. That seems silly, but a micro yes gives you a little micro shot of dopamine. A micro yes is an action. And anytime you are taking an action, those very quickly, they build on each other and they compound. And then you can get into momentum. And then once you're out of bed, I'll give you the acronym to use. So micro yeses are the smallest possible steps that you can take right now. If you're not doing it, cut it into 12 more pieces. If you're still not doing it, cut it even smaller. A micro yes can be done no matter where you are, what's going on, how panicky you feel. As long as you're doing something, it counts. So that's that. Then the acronym for when you're overwhelmed, but you're still able to move is called align, ALIGN. And here's what it means. Okay. So let's say you have a voice telling you you're a terrible you're a terrible daughter, son, you're a terrible sibling, you're a terrible family member because whatever. So align is A, just acknowledge. Well, it makes sense that I'm feeling terrible because this is hard. That's all you do for the A step. Then the L is listen. What's really going on in your head? Is it a fear? Is it a shame thing? Is there a need that's going on? And if you're not sure, then the I in align, ALI, is investigate. First of all, am I hungry? Let's start with the basics. Have I eaten? Have I slept? Am I hormonal? Do I need protein? We've got to solve for the basics first. And then the G in the acronym is give gratitude. The power of gratitude is undeniable, but we don't talk about giving it to ourselves. It's always, I'm grateful for someone else. Be grateful to your brain, even when it feels like it's fighting you. If you're alive and listening to this podcast, it's because your brain has done its job. So let's just give it a shout out. Hey, thanks, inner critic, for trying to help. Hey, thank you, guilty part of me, for trying to help. All the parts, let's just assume they're trying to help, even though some of them are not very skilled. And then the N, so we've got ALIG, acknowledge, listen, investigate, give gratitude to yourself. Then the N is negotiate. And negotiating is, all right, given all the things I now know, I'm going to be a little bit calmer since I've done the rest of the acronym. What is needing to happen first? Let's just come up with, okay, I might not be able to do everything. I can do one thing. That's your negotiation step. And if you get stuck on the negotiation step, do a micro yes.
Mm, okay. Wow. Okay. So that's something that you're probably gonna have to practice many, many times before you get it right and it becomes a habit, right?
Like anything, it's a muscle.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that I took away from the book that was powerful was that your brain, and again, correct me, but this is what I took away from it, was that your brain is meant to help you, right? It is there to keep you alive, literally. It is the best weapon, or I guess tool we have to do that. But not everyone, if you're talking about all your parts, not every part is going to go about it the same way, right? So if you, maybe that part of your brain that if you're in a physical danger situation, that one's going to get really loud, or other scenarios like guilt. I mean, that gets really complicated. Maybe it is a safety issue, or maybe it's a caregiver issue, or anyway, there's many parts that could be on the opposing side of the table on those things. But ultimately, if you can acknowledge the fact that your brain is there to help you, and if you can validate, and again, that doesn't mean you have to agree, but if you can validate it, and we talked a lot about assuming good intent on another podcast. So I think if you can give your brain the grace to say, okay, I'm assuming that they're here to help, let's figure this out together.
It's true. And we were chatting offline before this about kids. Think of a 6-year-old trying to help in the kitchen. A 6-year-old who wants to help in the kitchen unsupervised is going to be a big mess. There's going to be flour everywhere. You're probably going to get salmonella if they're left to their own devices.
For
And
sure.
it's not because, right? I mean, of course, it's not because they're not wanting to help. It's because they don't have the skills to cook. A 6-year-old doesn't have the skills to cook. So let's assume that the critical voice, the guilt voice, all those voices that we think of as these really scary, mean, horrible things, think of them as they're wanting to help. They just don't necessarily have the right information. And so they're going to make a big mess inside your head. But again, supervised children do fine in the kitchen. Supervised, our own minds can do a lot better than we think. Our brains have a lot more capacity for working in harmony together than we realize. Most of us, myself included, are sort of trained to think of our mind as the enemy, this thing we gotta fight and shut up and quiet down and manage and optimize. But like, what if we just needed some supervision up there in the kitchen, so to speak? Life would get a lot, if not easier, it would become a lot more easy to manage the chaotic nature of life.
Yes. And so, Britt, I know we haven't talked about this, and it just might be helpful for our audience. Most people that live in senior living, if you're truly in an assisted living community, many of them are going to have some form of cognitive impairment. And then if you're talking about memory support, then obviously that's going to be probably 100%. So, can you give us any advice or tips on, as a family member, we often say to the family members that are coming in is like, they may not understand what you're saying at the moment, but they definitely understand how you're feeling. That part of the human, I don't believe, ever goes away. So how do you recommend working with your own parts so that you're coming in at the best that you can at that time, right? To not inadvertently affect your loved one.
It's so tough, right? Because there's so many competing things before you, if that's your situation, before you even walk into that room, you're going to have 10 different parts of you who are all feeling 10 different kinds of pain and fear and all of the things. And sometimes you don't have the time to sit in psychotherapy and manage it all. Sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do. That's when that validating is really useful. Take 30 seconds before you walk in that room just to sort of put your hand on your heart, take a breath, say to your own mind, this is hard. I know you all are feeling a different kind of way. It makes sense that you're all feeling this. This room is not going to be the room where we solve every family issue that has ever gone unresolved. Because parts of us are really hopeful, right? Surely in this end stages of life, the things that were never said will be said, and the apologies will be made, and the loose ends will all get tied up. And that rarely happens. And so you get to be sad about it. You get to have feelings about it, but it's not your fault. And so taking a second to remind yourself you're doing the best you can in any given moment. And I think family members drastically underestimate how hard it is and how much capacity they're using to show up and navigate all of the things. So it's not give yourself a pass, but it's recognize you're being tasked with an impossible ask, and anything that you can do that moves you closer to yourself before walking in that room, we're going to clock that as a win.
I love that. I will just share a personal story. So, like I said, my mom has early onset Alzheimer's and she lives in a memory care community. And I got a picture. My brother went to visit her the other day. They were having a car show. So she was very excited to see all these classic cars. And she was in this cute purple dress and a little cardigan. And she decided she was going to wear what looked like maybe a pin or a corsage. And what it was a loofah sponge from her shower that she had pinned on herself to look like a flower. And my initial reaction was just, I thought it was the sweetest thing ever. I was laughing and I was like, look, it's color coordinated. But I know for a fact that there are other people out there that would have been enraged, like that's a dignity issue. That's how dare you let my mom walk out with a loofah sponge on her, on her lapel. And I'm just like, at this point, like if it brings her joy, we have to pick our battles, and it is not always going to be the most beautifully presented part of the human. Having like aging is messy, and it's not always. It can be beautiful, but there are parts of it that are just not going to be the perfect, gift wrapped package. So I appreciate you saying that just showing up is a win, but showing up with, I guess, grace and the understanding that everyone's just trying to get through it the best they can.
So real quick, because I know we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
For I love that story. Thank you for so much for sharing it. I too thought it was really sweet. The way you would align with that angry part. How dare they let my mom go acknowledge? Of course, I'm feeling angry because my mom is not the person I remember. Listen, am I worried about her actual safety? Is the staff making sure she's safe, or is this a
Right.
cosmetic thing?
Right.
Investigate. Everything seems okay. This is just a loofah thing. It doesn't seem like anything else is going on. This might just be me being sad about the changes. Thank you, brain, for trying to help me negotiate. Okay, I'm going to let this one go and I'll keep an eye on things. And if it's an actual safety issue, I will speak up. This one is not that one. And that's how you align with an angry part.
Love it. Oh my gosh, that is such a great way to end this podcast, Britt. And I hadn't done that. Now that I think about it, yeah, I probably did that in rapid succession. It's like not the battle I'm going to fight today, but because my mom's happy and she's color coordinated, so it's a win for us.
Love it.
Oh, Brett, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Like, well, first of all, where can we get your book?
Oh yeah, the book. I'm just like, let's talk about this. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about because it's so personal and it's sort of a great equalizer. Everyone in this situation, it doesn't really care who you are, where you come from. We all know what each other is going through, and I think there's beauty in that sort of connecting. Oh yeah, find me on Instagram at Britt Frank or my website brittfrank.com, and you can buy my books wherever you buy books.
Oh, thank you so much, Britt. It's been wonderful. I'm going to keep getting through the book. You have my commitment, and I hope everyone can read it and take at least one little piece from it to make your life better. So, uh, thank you so much, and we will talk everyone soon. So until next time, thank you.
Thank you.